In the quiet little town of Maplewood, Ohio, everyone knew everyone. It was one of those places where people still waved from their porches, where the diner waitress knew your name, and where the same yellow school buses rolled down the same streets every single day. But for nearly 3 years, there was one thing in Maplewood that nobody could explain. Every night at exactly 9:17 p.m., a little girl in a faded red coat would appear at bus stop 47 on Willow Creek Road. She never missed a night. Rain, snow, wind, fog, no matter what the weather looked like, she was always there, standing under the flickering street lamp, waiting. And every time a car slowed down, every time someone asked if she needed help, she gave the same answer. "I'm waiting for my dad. He said he'd come back." At first, people thought she was just a child from a troubled home. Then they thought maybe her parents were divorced. Then maybe she was confused. But as the months turned into years, the town began to whisper about her, because nobody knew where she came from, and nobody ever saw her walk to the bus stop or leave it. People only saw her standing there, like she had simply appeared out of the night itself. Officer Ethan Brooks, a 38-year-old police officer and former Marine, had heard the stories dozens of times. He didn't believe in ghost stories. He believed in facts, in paperwork, in evidence. And in Maplewood, most mysteries turned out to be teenagers playing pranks or old neighbors exaggerating things over coffee. But one freezing November night, Ethan saw the girl for himself. He had just finished a late shift and was driving home on Willow Creek Road when he noticed a small figure standing beneath the yellow street lamp. At first, he thought someone's child had been left outside. He pulled over immediately. When he stepped out of the cruiser, the cold air hit his face like ice. The little girl couldn't have been older than 7. She had pale skin, dark brown curls, and a red coat that looked strangely old-fashioned. Not dirty, not torn, just old, like something from another time. Ethan approached carefully. "Hey there, sweetheart," he said softly. "What are you doing out here all alone?" The girl looked up at him. Her eyes were large and calm. Not scared, not confused, just patient. "I'm waiting for my dad." Ethan crouched down. "It's late. Do you know your address? I can take you home." She shook her head. "No, I have to stay here." "Why?" "Because he promised." There was something about the way she said it that made Ethan pause. Not childish, not dramatic, certain, like she had repeated those words 1,000 times. Ethan looked around. No houses nearby, no footprints in the fresh snow except his own. That made no sense. He glanced back at her. "What's your name?" "Lily." "Lily what?" She hesitated, then whispered, "Lily Carter." The name hit Ethan like a slap, because he knew that name. Everyone in Maplewood knew that name. Lily Carter was the name of a little girl who had gone missing in 1998, 24 years ago. Ethan's blood ran cold. He stood up slowly. This had to be a joke, a prank, a sick one. He got back into the cruiser and radioed dispatch. "Run a historical file. Missing child, Lily Carter, Maplewood, year 1998. There was a long pause. Then the dispatcher came back. "Confirmed, female, age 7 at disappearance, last seen near Willow Creek Road, close to bus stop 47. Ethan looked up through the windshield. The little girl was still standing under the street lamp, motionless, snow drifting around her. He stepped out of the cruiser again. Lily. But when he looked, she was gone. Just gone. No footsteps, no running sound, nothing. Only the empty road and the flickering street lamp. Ethan didn't sleep that night. The next morning, he went straight to the police archives in the basement of the station. Dusty boxes, old case files, coffee-stained folders. He spent 3 hours searching until he found it. Case number 981147. Missing child, Lily Carter. The report was short, too short. Lily had vanished while walking home from a church Christmas play rehearsal. Her father, Thomas Carter, had reported her missing at 10:03 p.m. Search teams combed the woods, the creek, the roads. No body, no evidence, no suspect. Case unsolved. But Ethan noticed something strange. Several pages were missing from the file. He frowned. Police files didn't just lose pages, not by accident. He took the file upstairs and knocked on the office door of Sheriff Walter Hayes, who had been a deputy back in 1998. Hayes was in his 60s now, with tired eyes and a face that always looked like it carried old secrets. "What do you want, Brooks?" Hayes asked. Ethan placed the file on his desk. "Why are pages missing from Lily Carter's case?" Hayes didn't answer immediately. Instead, he stared at the folder. Then he leaned back in his chair. "Some things are better left buried." Ethan's jaw tightened. "A child disappeared." Hayes sighed. "We searched for weeks." "That's not what I asked." Hayes looked directly at him. "You're a good officer, Ethan. Don't go digging where you don't need to." That was all Ethan needed to know. Something was wrong. That evening, he drove to the edge of town where Thomas Carter still lived in a small farmhouse surrounded by dead winter fields. Thomas was older now, thin, gray-haired, and looked like a man who never truly left the worst day of his life. When Ethan introduced himself, Thomas immediately stiffened when he heard Lily's name. "I don't talk about that anymore," he said. "I saw her," Ethan replied. Thomas froze. For several seconds, neither of them spoke. Then Thomas whispered almost angrily, "No, you didn't." "At bus stop 47. Thomas's face turned pale. His hands trembled. He stepped aside and let Ethan in. The house was filled with old photographs. One wall in particular was covered in them. A little girl with curls, a red coat, a missing smile frozen in time. "She waits there," Thomas said quietly. "Every night." Ethan stared at him. "You know?" Thomas nodded, tears already forming in his eyes. "I've seen her. For years." "Why didn't you report it?" Thomas laughed bitterly. "To who? The same people who stopped searching for my daughter after 6 days?" Ethan said nothing. Thomas walked to the fireplace and picked up a framed photo of Lily. "She was supposed to walk home with friends that night," he said, "but she left early, said she wanted to surprise me." "With what?" Thomas swallowed hard. "She made me a Christmas card in Sunday school. She wanted to give it to me before bed." His voice cracked. "She never made it home." Ethan looked around the room. "Do you think someone took her?" Thomas stared into the fire. "I used to." Then he looked at Ethan. "But after all these years, I think something worse happened." "What do you mean?" Thomas lowered his voice. "I think someone in this town knows exactly what happened, and they covered it up." Ethan felt the air in the room shift. "Who?" Thomas hesitated, then said the name Ethan least expected. "Walter Hayes." Back at the station, Ethan broke every rule he'd ever respected. At 1:30 in the morning, he used his key to enter the old records room and searched through retired storage boxes under Hayes's name. Inside one locked evidence bin, he found a sealed envelope marked "Do Not File." His pulse quickened. He opened it. Inside were the missing pages from Lily's case and a witness statement, dated December 14, 1998. A woman named Margaret Bell had reported seeing a little girl in a red coat get into a county sheriff's truck near bus stop 47 that night. The driver? Deputy Walter Hayes. Ethan's stomach dropped.
There was also a handwritten note attached in old ink. Witness unreliable. Statement withdrawn. But the signature at the bottom looked forced, almost forged. Ethan heard a floorboard creak behind him. He turned. Sheriff Hayes stood in the doorway, holding a revolver. "You should have listened," Hayes said. Ethan slowly raised his hands. "You took her?" Hayes's face twisted with shame and anger. It wasn't supposed to happen. What happened? Hayes looked like he'd been carrying poison in his chest for 24 years. "I was drinking that night. Too much. I was driving home after the holiday fundraiser. I didn't even see her until it was too late." Ethan's breathing stopped. "You hit her?" Hayes nodded once. "She ran into the road. I slammed the brakes. She went down." His voice cracked. "She was alive."